All right, so design consideration. Now that you know the concept or the science involved for drainage of water or storage of water, let's see how they are implemented in the actual design. So start with the components. So first thing you have to remember, you can design any different way, but it has a specific load. This is the load range. You cannot have green roof which is more than 200 pounds per square feet because because most of the rooftops are not designed to handle that much pressure. So that's why a lot of times it's important to ensure that your roof materials or the green roof materials are lighter. And the main purpose here, what is the main purpose of green roof is to allow water to drain. And so drainage of water, drain, store, mostly slow down the drainage, um, and store water. And the second is energy, so cooling or heating. If you are heating inside, then that energy should not dissipate to sky. So that's the second benefit of the green roof. So these are the permit you have to apply, whether you are applying for a private or public buildings. The little bit difference is there in the step 4. So first is you have to design the concept. And those concepts are designed based on whether this is what type of green roof you are going to design, extensive or intensive. We'll come to that, what is extensive or intensive means. But point is, we have to first decide what type of green roof you want. Once you decide the type of green roof, you consult with a um, consulting firm or engineering firm who knows how to do this kind of thing. And those consulting firm is not necessarily just environmental engineer. In fact, 90% of the green roof designs are related to structural engineers because they have to see whether your building is structurally stable enough to to have that green roof. So you discuss with all of them, and then you get you apply for the permit. So again, green roof. One of the aspect of green roof is that you have lots of dry material on the top. The moment you have plants, they can also get dry. That means this can be also a fire hazard. So that's why one other step is to also check with fire department to ensure that you are not violating any of those protocols, or how we should have the design so that it is fireproof. The fourth one is you are going to choose, if it is a private sector, then you choose the architects or structural engineering firm to plan the entire details. But if you are applying for the public agency, that you have to first go to the public agency which they contract out to the private agency. And then at the end you create your plans and before you start beginning the constructions. So these are the permit structure. So first is design, and then consultations, design goal. So you set the goal, and then you say fire safety. Then you approach the agency who can um, who can um, um, who can provide you this concept, and then at the end it becomes the constructions. I realize that my screen is frozen. That's why everything I'm writing here is not seeing in the. I'm going to stop share and then do it again. All right, so this is what I wrote before. Um, so as I said, the extensive or intensive, that's based on the size, okay, the big whether it's a thickness. So as you see over here, there are 3 different types of design. One is a thicker, another is drainage type. The first one you see over here, this one you have bigger filter layer versus smaller filter layer. The difference is you have a lot less weight, but the right side you have thicker layer. There is an advantage for it, and there is a reason why you want to use one versus another. The idea here is that if you have a thicker layer, you have more water storage capacity. If you have more water storage capacity, the plants will be healthy even though it doesn't have much rainfall. So that means if you are choosing green roof in Los Angeles area, you are looking for this kind of design, the thicker layer, because your irrigation requirement will be low. The negative side, you got to have a strong building because it will be heavier. Whereas if you are designing something in Newark, you will design something thin one because you know that it rains a lot there. So you don't really need to worry about irrigations, or you can actually get water, which is cheap there, to irrigate it. So this is, I'm going to say that this is for LA, the thicker one. The left one is going to be the for Newark. And then second type is based on drainage. Drainage is, again, if you want to store most of the water, you do not want to have this kind of drainage layer because that allow the water to move very quickly. Whereas if you want to store, all you did here is, if you see, the moment the water comes here, it will quickly drain out the systems. Okay, so that's the pre-drainage type. The second one, all it does, it have this fan, but it has this wedge. So anytime the water comes here, it will create this ponding. And the only when you have water above this one, then it will become the drainage. So you create these patterns where the water can stay longer. So that's the drainage type Z media. So you have more media type. And then the last one is about, you create a mat instead of having any layer of soil or that stuff. This is a mat type. So that's you just fold that map and then you don't have to do anything else. It has a structure itself to have the system of storage, and it doesn't have much actually storage. It's a very small amount water stored in between. And the next thing you have to check for design is what type of soil to use. As I said, the key factor for soil design is how much water it can store, because you want to have a green roof which has more high retention of storm water, or not storm water, rainwater, so that you do not have to irrigate. So that's why I say minimum 25% is what the water retention has to be. So what that means is, if you pour water, 1 liter of water, 25% will stay, 75% will drain out. And it has to have some permeability. It should not be so impermeable that most of the water stay as ponding. So also you don't want to have high permeability because then it drain everything out and you have to again irrigate for that. It has to be breathable. That means the air has to have high amount of oxygen for microbe to grow and the root structure to be healthy. That's why the air content has to be also high. 25% will be air. Then the density is given here. As you can see, the typical density of soil density is 2.5. If you have porosity, that will decrease 2.6. But here you see the density, bulk density is around 0.8 to 1.4. The reason is you are adding some material which are very lightweight. For instance, charcoal, you can add charcoal because it's lighter than soil. So you have to think of all that. Then there are some other components given. The only thing that you have to remember, this component here are nutrients. Those nutrients has to be there so that you don't have to keep applying fertilizer. These are there for plant support. So again, when you think of soil, you are looking at water retentions, water drainage, and then the nutrients for the plants. So drainage, then retention, then nutrients. So these three things you have to control for soil properties. The last one is plant. Plants are pretty important because you do not want to have plants which will die very quickly. For instance, if you are looking for plants in Los Angeles area, it's very important to have plants which are drought resistant. Because the maintenance bill is very high for Los Angeles because of irrigations. water is expensive, so it's no point of having a green roof if you have to irrigate all the time. That means the amount of water you are saving is not necessarily comparable for the amount of water you are actually consuming. But if you add the offset for energy cost, then maybe it is doable. So you have to think both ways. So anytime you are thinking of green roof in Los Angeles, you cannot just think of on water. You have to also think of as an energy saving design. And then there are many different methods to plant. I will not go detail about it. The manual that I uploaded, you can check that. That's just basically whether you start from seed or you can just add the plants directly, and whether there is a gap between plants or all that factors. Any question?